Okay, so, oh boy. We finally got one, John. I think we finally got one.
It always happens, right? It happens around the third round,
Finally.
and they're like, "There's the guy. This is the one everyone at NFL Network is going to be excited about." Who do we have?
I'm excited about this one. The Patriots have selected Houston corner Marcus Jones with the 85th pick in the draft. Marcus Jones is an absolute baller with one caveat. You're going to hate it. I can't wait to tell you. He's 5'8".
He runs a 4.6.
He's 5'8".
Yeah.
So he's extremely undersized. He, in my opinion, is probably going to have to play in the slot. But when you watch Marcus Jones play, this dude is a baller. He's got great ball skills. He has mirror match ability. He's got great play speed. He can track receivers all over the field. He can make plays on the football despite his size. Really good closing burst. And this is going to give you other vibes of another player I'll mention here in a second. He is one of the best punt and kick returners in the country. Easily one of the most dynamic return men in the country. And there is some elements of his game where he can play offense, like kind of like Devin Hester did for the Chicago Bears as like a gadget player. He did that for Houston as well. So I think the overall player that I'm describing is going to make Patriots fans think of Cyrus Jones. I know it will, but I think you're getting a guy here that has got more natural ability at corner than Cyrus Jones did. But yeah, I really love Marcus Jones. We've talked about him a lot on the pod. We nailed this one. This is one that we had. So yeah. I'm excited about that.
At this slot, this is something you had?
Yeah, somewhere around here. I think this is the first pick in the draft that I can actually say that the Patriots picked a guy where we all thought they would pick a guy, and they picked a guy that we all had on our big boards and all had on our mock drafts and all that kind of stuff. So we finally got one here with Marcus Jones. I'm excited about this pick. The Patriots, you also have to remember, and I know that a lot of people ultimately don't really care about special teams, but Gunnar Olszewski's not here anymore. So they did have to get somebody in the building, I think, that had the ability to return kicks and punts. And Marcus Jones is easily the best return man in the draft. It's not even remotely close.
9 career return touchdowns.
Yeah, he is an absolute beast on returns. I think ultimately he's going to be a slot corner. I think that he's just plain too small to play any place else. But I think that he is going to be a really good slot corner. And like I said, I think he's got the speed and the mirror match skills to be able to do it. In some ways, I think that you might actually look at him and see the guys down in Miami and say, okay, well, maybe he can shadow a Tyreek Hill. Maybe he can shadow a Jalen Waddle. Maybe he can run across the field with an Isaiah McKenzie, right? You know, I think you have that kind of play speed and that kind of coverage ability.
And the Titans just took Willis here, the quarterback, Malik Willis. So after that, but yeah, go ahead, yeah, stay on this pick, Evan.
Yeah, so I really think that this is a player that Patriots fans are going to really like. I know it's the size, the athletic testing wasn't as good in the athletic testing as he was in terms of watching him play and how fast he plays on tape. So I know that there's going to be some people that are like, oh, I'm just not sure, you know. But I'm telling you, this guy can really play football. He is a football player through and through, and I think that this is going to be a good pick for the Patriots. You talk about Miles Bryant last year, for example, right? You just couldn't have him out there. Right, towards the end of the year, Isaiah McKenzie, right, some of these other receivers against Miles Bryant were just absolutely torching Bryant. And Marcus Jones, I think, comes in and is able to compete right away for some of those backup slot reps and return kicks. And then maybe eventually down the road, you hope that he can take over for Jonathan Jones, right? Like that's kind of the goal here. He also had shoulder surgery, didn't test, had shoulder surgery this offseason. And I think that also probably knocked him down the board a little bit too. I think he would have gone a little bit higher if it wasn't for the injury. So a really good football player. Really excited about this one. And we finally got one. So I'm excited about that.
You got one, Evan. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
So again, positions of need, this is 1, 2, 3 positions of need. Another one being linebacker. Again, are these necessarily the players people expected them to draft with their picks? No. But these are all positions that they needed to address in the draft. You have to think linebacker here is just a logical place to go, or kind of a bigger body here up front on that D line.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I also don't hate the idea of double dipping at defensive back, because a guy like Marcus Jones is purely a slot, right? You're not going to play him outside at 5'8". So maybe you come back here and you get Zion McCollum and you pair those two guys together. And now you have your outside guy with your slot corner to build in the future. I wouldn't hate that. You also have those pick back-to-back, essentially 121 and 127 in the 4th round. So maybe they can sneak in another corner with one of those picks as well. So
Yep.
I'm excited about this one. I think that this is going to be.
Would you have preferred one of these other guys higher here on your board?
I mean, I think that a guy like Zion McCollum has better raw outside traits. Like, I think that's the thing, right? You're talking about a slot. Like, you're talking about a nickel corner here. And some of these other guys, I think,
which is base nowadays. So again,
right.
This is that's potential starter.
Other guys would have potentially had more ability on the outside, like Tyreek Woolen. Tyreek Woolen. Keep on getting Tyquan Thornton and Tyreek Woolen confused. Tyreek Woolen and Zion McCollum are outside guys. Those guys have the size and the skill to play on the outside. Marcus Jones isn't that. I honestly, I know that it drives Patriots fans nuts that they put so much emphasis on returning and on special teams. But this, to me, at least in year 1, I think he's going to come to the practice field in training camp, and he's going to be like the best punt returner in camp by far. So I think that that's really what you're looking at here early, and I know that that's going to give people some real Cyrus Jones.
I know, and I mean, you wonder if Cyrus Jones didn't fumble everything in his first 10 seconds of being a pro, if things would turned out differently. But Cyrus Jones' brain was broken almost immediately upon entering the NFL, and he never recovered. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen a person doubt themselves more than Cyrus Jones.
I don't think this kid is like that. Watching him,
you could see it. You could see it in the interviews in the locker room after the game. He looked lost and he looked broken. It was a very strange thing to watch that happen to him. It was, and it happened so fast.
Yeah, I don't see that with Marcus Jones, because when I watch him play on tape, the kid's got some swagger. Like he's got some of that confidence. When you watch him play, you just don't think about. I don't think one fumble is going to bury this kid, right? Like Cyrus Jones, it felt like quicksand. Like as soon as he fumbled once, it was just like, he was just cratering at that point. I don't see Marcus Jones like that. I think that he's somebody that is going to have a little bit more mental toughness than that. And mainly, look, you got to talk about the special teams value, because at this point in the draft at 85, you're talking about developmental guys. We're talking about guys like Zion McCollum, right? And Tyreek Woolen, and these players that probably aren't going to play as rookies on one side of the ball, right? Like they're not going to play on defense. They're not going to start on defense as rookies. So Marcus Jones is going to develop in the slot behind John Jones, but he's could potentially make a day one impact as a return man. So
go ahead. No, this is where we take the punter, right?
It's possible. I can't believe that they're not all over Leo Chenal. He's just such a Patriot. Like I said, he's like a more athletic Juwan Bentley.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that just I'm really shocked about that one. But other than that, I mean, we're definitely in Ariza. His over under, I think on Bet Online, shout out, was I think 117. So we're right there.
Yeah, 117. Getting there.
Yeah.
Getting there. So again, here we go. Marcus Jones, he's kind of short, didn't test. So we don't know speed wise. What is this?
Fast though.
Huh? But
he's real
fast. You're right.
Yeah. Yep. Plays fast, has the footwork, has the mirroring skills. You see explosiveness all over his tape. And honestly, if you're worried about play speed, not that anybody really is saying they're worried about play speed, but if that's just something that you're kind of thinking about, I mean, let's keep in mind that you don't have 9 return touchdowns in college if you're not kind of fast, right? Like,
Right.
that guys that can return kicks like that to the house consistently, like you got to have some sort of speed at that point. And I think he's got the footwork. I mean, this is a guy that really can stay glued to people in coverage. And I'm really, I'm high on the player. If he was, I talked about this with Roger McCreary from Auburn, who went early tonight, like in the 34, 35 range to Tennessee, I think it was. If Marcus Jones was 5'10" instead of 5'8", he's off the board 50 picks ago. You know what I mean? Like that, that's just the difference there. So we're just talking about a little, a measurables thing. It's a raw measurables thing that's going to probably pigeonhole him to the slot. And I think some teams are going to say, we're just not going to take a chance on a guy that's 5'8" in the NFL. We just don't count on it. But I keep saying that. And I want to remind people that there are guys that have succeeded in the NFL at that kind of size. Ricardo Allen, who had a long career, he was 5'9". There was other DBs that
he could just go chase Elijah Moore around all day, and that'll be fine.
Right. They're not asking him to go up.
You got Tyreek Hill and Elijah Moore in the division, both of whom are in the 5'10" range. Go ahead, chase those guys around. That's a tough job.
Right. You're not asking him to go up against, Gabriel Davis, who's 6'2" and built, right? You're not going to put him on those types of guys. You're going to put him on the guys he belongs on, the slot receivers and the quick and fast guys. And he's going to be able to run with those guys. And none of them are going to beat him at the catch point because they're, 2 inches taller than he is. Like, I just don't really see that being a major concern. And I also wouldn't say that on tape he's got major play strength concerns either. I think he's actually pretty burly for his size. So I don't know. I get the concern about the ceiling with the player because he's 5'8". I mean, he's tiny. He's tiny by NFL standards. So obviously there's going to be some concerns in that respect. But you have to understand that the player, he's just a good football player. And I think he's going to survive in the league somewhere. And he's definitely going to survive as a return man. So I think Patriots fans will be really excited about seeing him return kicks in the preseason. That's going to be a big thing, right? We always get jacked up for the rookies in preseason and training camp anyways. Just wait for that first preseason game in August and Marcus Jones goes back there to return the punt. That's going to be something that I think a lot of people will be excited to see or should be excited to see.